Hi, thank you very much for coming out today. We're going to be talking about interactive and immersive technologies for architectural visualization. Hopefully in today's presentation, we're going to be going over the application of VR and AR technologies to architectural design. We're going to have a great conversation about technologies and storytelling, and we're going to be leaving inspired to experiment.
So here are our key learning objectives. What we're going to do today is talk to you about how we use VR, how we're seeing that we're going to use VR in the future, and then what we do with it internally. So I'm AJ Sustaita. I'm project manager and the education studio lead at Corgan here in Houston.
And I'm Nicholas Banks. I'm an architect here in the Houston in our education studio. And at Corgan, we strive every day to create a place where our clients thrive. With our clients, we design structures and spaces that inspire, inform, and innovate. We've got 6 different market sectors that we focus on that range all the way from aviation. So the new hobby terminal expansion is a Corgan project. Commercial, office towers, and mixed-use residential. Critical facilities, the cloud, all your data centers and office for some of the largest companies in the world. Education, that's what AJ and I special in, building 21st century learning environments. Healthcare, and corporate interiors. So let's start off by defining kind of what virtual reality and augmented reality are. Virtual reality is the computer-generated simulation of 3-dimensional image or environment that can be interacted in a seemingly real or physical way. While augmented reality is a technology that superimposes a computer-generated image on a user's view of the real world, thus providing a composite view. But I'm sure all you guys here already know way more about that than we do. But we're architects, and we're going to talk about how we use these 2 technologies and apply them to our workflow. So we're going to be talking about the evolution of architectural communication, how we're currently using VR and AR technologies, and where we see the future of VR in the architecture and construction field.
So historically, our workflow has been sitting at the drafting boards, drafting a 2D plan, and then presenting a 3D crafted model to clients so that they can understand what they're seeing. Because a lot of times our biggest obstacles are you show a client something in 2D, and they nod their head and they say they get it, but 75% of the time they really don't. And once it gets built, we have questions. And sometimes there can be some obstacles because they didn't realize they were getting what they were getting. Just because they signed off on a 2D plan doesn't necessarily mean that they understand what we're presenting to them.
Sorry, I have the whole PowerPoint. No problem. Just crash on me. So we'll start over where we left off.
So in the digital age, things have come along a little bit. Now we have BIM, building information models, which we see on this image right over here, the bottom left. We're able to do 3D renderings a lot more expediently than we used to. You would have to start a rendering, and it would take hours or even days to produce. Now it's usually just the click of a button.
Right. And also, before we got to the age where we currently are, when we were using 2D AutoCAD to draw our plans, if any time we wanted to move into the 3D realm, we'd have to use a separate program that wouldn't speak to each other. So our 3D images that we create to communicate wouldn't necessarily 100% line up with the 2D drawings that we were doing.
But now what we've got with BIM is you go straight from 2D to 3D because you're doing those things simultaneously. You can't do one without the other. You're automatically building that building in 2D, and you see it in 3D as well. So that's a big step forward, but the reality is we have that model. We have a 2D plan. They're still really largely looking at static images, 2D images. And that's where AR and VR are coming in.
Right. So we've used all this time to generate those 2D drawings, but we have all this great 3D information that ranges from walls to studs to the furniture that sits in the building, and all this latent potential in the models that we're already putting together just to produce our documents and drawings for construction. So the potential in VR and architecture is huge in the coming years. We're just getting started, and it's taking off very quickly. In a matter of few months, once Corgan kind of officially said we're going to invest in VR, we've given over 500 demos to clients and interested people of our capabilities, and the requests keep continuing to come in. The client feedback has also been overwhelming, and it's been positive. Because of VR's ability to truly immerse someone in an environment, the user is able to see so much more than he or she would in a traditional 3D rendering. People can even form an emotional connection with the space. During the design process, so we're going to talk a little bit about how we can use VR during the design process, during client interactions, as well as marketing opportunities. So the first time that I put, as an architect, the first time that I put the VR goggles on a project that I had worked on, I knew it was a game changer for the industry. And the technology continues to evolve. So just being able to be inside of a room that I've designed, I can instantly know where everything is that I've placed there in a drawing, and even see kind of flaws that, oh, maybe I should try it this way the next time. But as the technology continues to evolve, we have opportunities to even design while in that virtual world. This is a project called Fuser that we'll talk about in just a little minute. But that actually allows you to select 3D objects while you're in the virtual space and move them, modify them, and get that real-time information that we already have in our BIM or in our Revit model, and look at that data right there. Okay, so for one of our clients called Mannington, they're a flooring company. We were doing a renovation of an industrial space. And before they even invested $1 into construction costs, we were able to bring in our VR setup and have them walk through the space and get a really good idea. They've noted that the VR experience greatly enhances the level of communications between the architects and their own team. And by experiencing the space in VR, their understanding of the space was strengthened and helped them eliminate any future confusion or disagreement. Mannington also said that we share a more common design language when they go through a process like this. So, I mean, this is a technology that, with minimal investment of what we're already doing. Somebody decided to put the headset down there. They're able to realize that space with minimal additional effort to us using some of these advanced softwares.
So Nick mentioned communication, and that's the biggest asset to us as designers. Largely good design is based on communication between our teams and the clients and the stakeholders that are going to be using that space. Our objective is to elevate whatever space they're in, whether it be a school, whether it be a hospital, or whether it be the Channel 2 news station that we just completed a couple of months ago. So we're using communication in this new technology, but believe it or not, clients are a little hesitant to use this. So we've taken this and we're trying to use it as a marketing tool. So what we've done, this is a shot of our space here at the office. We're in Greenway Plaza. We took a week where we set up our rig and we invited anyone who was willing to come, our education clients, our healthcare clients, our aviation clients, and our commercial interiors. We just wanted them to come and start getting a feel for what it was like to put on those goggles. So as a marketing tool, it's really effective because there's a lot of fun things you can do with this. We get them to walk through spaces that we've designed. They're highly detailed. They're very impressive when you're walking around them. They're extremely immersive. But what we'll also do is we'll take this on the road, and we go to conferences where we have booths. We'll set up just like you see out there, and we try and stand out from our competitors by having something a little more engaging and fun to have. So in that way, that marketing asset is really a help to us to get a little more foot traffic and a lot more excitement about this technology, and we're getting over that barrier of not wanting to put on the goggles or try something new. So here's just a broad overview of what you can do here. You're going from Google Cardboard to a Vive or an Oculus. Our setup is the Vive. We have a media lab that largely makes all these decisions. They're based in Dallas. Our headquarters is in Dallas. They have a lot of fun stuff. They did plenty of research. For our field of work, the Vive seemed to be the best fit because we're able to use that with the Autodesk technology, the Revit and the Inkscape plugins. All of that there works a little more effectively with the Vive than maybe the Oculus does at this moment. So here's our setup. It's completely mobile. Our Media Lab set this suitcase up with us. Wherever we go to set up, this is all we have to take. Everything is in this bag.
It's a large carry-on.
Yeah, it's the size of a large carry-on. So it's about this tall. We had training on it where our Media Lab came in, and I'm hands-off on the setup. I just ask them to help and put it together, and they do. But they trained everyone for a couple of hours to do the setup, because it's not just what you're seeing here. There are poles that are set up with sensors, and you have to tape off about a 10 square foot area grid. But now that they've got it down, these guys can put this thing and get up and running in about 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's really minimal setup time, and it's extremely mobile. We also have a dedicated laptop for this guy. He lives on the other side of this flap, and he just sits there. What kind of laptop is that?
I think it's an MSI laptop. I mean, it's fully loaded with as much RAM as they could cram into it. It's got the latest Core i7 processor and mobile graphics. So we're able to drive the VR plus an additional external projector, for other people looking at the setup.
It's a beast. It's a beast of a laptop, and it's needed for our setup. So here we go. Take a look at this this graph. We're going from ease of use to level of immersion. So you can see as you get further down in ease of use, you're not quite getting the immersive experience as you'd like. So Google Cardboard is on the low end, and then you're going all the way to the Vive, which is what we use, as getting that entirely immersive experience to be in the building or in the model.
Right, but we also use a lot of the Google Cardboard setup for promotional tools as well. It's easy to hand out at client presentations and just say, we're going to put this here if you'd like to use it. Go ahead. We have a link on there. It'll take them directly to it. And the technologies that we're using in conjunction with our Revit model allows us to publish those on the internet for them to go out. So how do we virtual reality? How are we using it? There's opportunities to have fully dedicated teams to developing these buildings in Unreal Engine and Unity and all of that. But as architects, we don't have that level of sophistication or the time to spend outside of our core our core business model of doing the drafting and doing the design documents. So what we were looking for is something that takes all the work that we've already been doing and rapidly translates that into a virtual environment. And the three listed there, Iris, Inkscape, and Fuser, are the ones that we've been using and having great success with translating that building or BIM Revit model into a VR space. And it utilizes all the existing assets that we already have, such as materials that are already baked into the Autodesk product, and provide a level of flexibility for us to rapidly make adjustments in the program we're familiar with, and then have those results turn out into through these programs into the virtual experience. So Iris, it works with both Revit and SketchUp, which are programs that we use day to day as architects. It gives us the abilities to turn on and off layers or design options, and this also has some really cool in virtual controls. So you can actually modify the solar angle while you're in that space and kind of change it from day to night, and the sun reacts as you make these modifications. It's also, and on that interface, you're also able to get screen captures and do markups. So it has interactive markups that actually you're able to export. So if you go in there and circle something or even draw something, so it's got like a marker system, so you can actually write a comment on something and then present it that way. And this program also has the ability to zoom you all the way out. And it kind of goes back to those original tools of the scale model that architects used to use, and presents your project on like a podium sort of thing, so you can actually look around it at a really large scale level. So here's an example of what that program can do with minimal additional
with minimal additional production. We've got the BIM model. The only thing needed to go from our working file to something like this is adding the materials, and adding the materials has become very, very easy. facilitation of that has become commonplace. So this, what you're looking at here, is our work on LAX Airport in Los Angeles. So aviation is our biggest client every year. We do airports all around the world, so it's no surprise that the aviation sector was the first adopter of this, because these are the kinds of things that set us out or puts us out in front of the major competitors around the world. We do have, speaking of LAX, we brought 4 of our Corgan branded Google Cardboards. On each one there's a link. So you can go to this. It will pull up an even higher level display of what you're seeing here. It's a guided walkthrough, so you don't need the controllers to project you through. It's going to, I think every minute or 30 seconds, it's going to kind of push you on to the next level of the concourse and the terminal, and it's completely immersive. You don't need these. You can use your phone if you just want the link. You can pull it up on your phone. It goes straight to YouTube, and then you're doing your look around, look down. It's really a great tool for us. It's like Nick said, we send these links out to clients when we've generated them, and we're getting a lot of great buzz for it because they can just pull it up on their phone.
Right. And I'd be amiss to not mention that on this, we've been working closely with the software developer on this as they've been developing their this application. And we've been able to give them like good feedback, and so they've been improving kind of how their program manages importing the materials that we're already using within Revit. So we're just seeing better and better results out of that. Oh, you've got this guy.
So Enscape we've adopted just this year, and we've really adopted it in a big, big way, because much like what you're seeing here, if we're building and we're documenting in Revit, Enscape is a plugin. We work on it with 2 monitors, and largely you'll see our guys working in 2D over here, and they'll see a 3D space using the Enscape plugin right next to them, and it's high-level stuff. It's photo quality, photo rendering, images. All of that's done on the fly, so there is no picking up long rendering times or having to prep for meetings. If we got called into a presentation or a client wanted to see some options tomorrow, we've already got the model. All we needed to do was add a few details to it, put some materials on it, and we've got a space that you can walk through, fly through, and even generate stills that are high definition quality. It's a really great tool. We've adopted it. We're using it heavily. I think right now we've got limited license in the firm for it, but it's become such a huge hit that I think they're going to roll it out so that everyone has the access to use it. It only benefits us.
Right. Yeah, and the real benefit to this for us is that it's also usable without the VR capabilities. So we can post things to the internet, and it has an easy interface for people to use.
Right. So this is an Enscape view. This is what you're seeing, and what you're seeing with the little office, that's our little branded tag. So the Office 01, we're putting our little Corgan square on it. If we sent this out to you or a client with that link is live. If you guys want to go and see it, you can. This is a Texas A&M project in Texarkana. You would click on Office, and it would take you into the admin area, and you can pan around and move forward and back. And you can see here the Google Cardboard link too. So if you have that, or if you have goggles, all you do is hit that button, and you're in the space. You can look around it instead of using a mouse and seeing it in 2D. Right. But this is the kind of quality you get straight from your model. You can even incorporate a little floor plan. This is a really cool piece of software. We're having trouble being able to demonstrate it to you right now, but as you move around in this, as you pan around, there's a little field of view here showing you where you are in your building. So you never know, you never get lost. It's always showing you which way you're looking and which direction you're facing. That way, if you want to go to a certain place or get back to a certain place, you can easily do that with the click of a button.
And we're also using the software called Fuser. So this is the one that I was talking to you about earlier that supports bidirectional support with Revit. There's a video that we'll look at in just a little bit that actually has someone going in, or standing in a space, noticing a problem with the space, fixing that, and then that information gets sent back to our drawing software. This software also supports multiple users over the internet. So we have multiple offices across the state. So if I'm working here in Houston and I've got my New York office also with their VR setup, we can both be in the same project at the same time, communicating either with each other or with clients. So I can see this having a huge possibility for us in the future. This also is able to pull the information that we already have in that Revit model and see that while you're in this virtual space. As you can see, there's a lot of kind of overlay and interfaces that come along with this program. And the ability to actually perform the design inside of that virtual reality experience is going to be a breakthrough for the architectural and engineering field. So here's that example I was talking about. So you can see there's 2 red signs down there, but there's really 3. So the designer has noticed that this sign can't be viewed while you're in that corridor. So he's able, in this virtual environment, to grab that using directional tools, reposition that so it is aligned to that wall, save that, which then sends that information back to the Revit model live, and then he can go back to his original position and verify that that solved the problem. So instead of the 2 signs that you were seeing previously while in this corridor, you'd be able to turn around, and now you can see all 3 of those signs. So it's things like this that are really, I can't wait to load up the next project that we have into this software and really kind of try it out. So the ones that we've been showing you are the ease of use. Inkscape is something that we have open on a daily, or our designers have open on a daily basis. Iris is a little bit more involved. We have to get out the VR rig, and it's purely a VR experience. Along with Fuser, there's a level of sophistication in the user interface that's just a little bit more difficult. But through our support staff, our Media Lab company, we're able to also create really customized, realistic using the Unity and the Unreal Engine. But that requires just a level of investment beyond what we do on a typical day-to-day workflow. So that would be for a real specialized project where we would start using those sort of items.
So as I mentioned earlier, there are some barriers. Those barriers are afraid they're going to get sick. They don't like being closed off. And with the Vive, Larry and I were talking, the only thing about the Vive is you are tethered. So we usually will have to have someone that's minding the cord so someone doesn't trip or lose their balance. So there's a lot more hesitation to adopt that. AR, however, is completely transparent. You're seeing the space, and you've got that augmented reality happening alongside you.
So we know the opportunities of AR are very limitless as what you can create and overlaying virtual elements into a real-world setting. We feel as architects we're well-suited to assist in the design process of augmented reality interfaces because we deal with the built environment on a daily basis. We're using AR and things that we don't even know with Pokemon Go and apps on our cell phone. But as the technology continues to develop, we can really see the huge potential for AR technologies in the architecture and design field. We are currently, applications such as furniture layout. You can take a end user's actual space and rapidly show different design options within that using augmented reality technology. Imagine showing up to a project meeting and they're able to pull out their iPhones and their iPads, the technology that they already have on them, and interact with these virtual objects kind of in a real-world space. And even into the construction application, we're already creating these models in 3D. We have all the assets already drawn. So it's just ways of applying those in different ways in the field. So you saw there the contractor trying to align a pipe to what was drawn. It'll just inherently make construction even more and more precise to what the drawings have been. And even in the life cycle of a project, the operations and maintenance, as this technology continues to evolve, you can definitely see the options for that in the future of having our end user clients be able to identify problems and be able to maintain their buildings long term. But we all know augmented reality, while it's growing, and it's not quite there yet. So there's limited fields of view. It's only as effective as the information you put into it. And for those, limited experiences that you can have on your iPhones or iPads, there's different supports that it's not a native natural experience, and it only works like a certain distance away. But there are some ways that we are currently using augmented technologies, in our practice.
So again, this is an airport-driven project. You go into an airport, especially a new airport in a city you've never been into, and there's a lot going on. So what we're trying to do is enhance the user experience when they visit an airport. We had some of our employees put on these glasses, and they're walking through our projects. What we're doing is we're seeing where their eyes are tracking. That's what these glasses are doing. They're walking through the concourse like they normally would, whether they're going to their gate or going to shopping or going to get some food. But this here is the finished audio, so you're seeing those light ups. That's showing off of raw footage where their eyes are directed to. So in a second, you're going to see that raw footage, what we started with and where it came from. This is the pretty image, but the real stuff is coming. But we're tracking everything: age range, gender, tech savviness, all of that. All of that's good research for us to establish the best way to design these airports and improve the user experience. So here's that sample raw output. You're going to see these little pings. That's the actual video footage of where the user's eyes are going as they're walking through the concourse. So you can see them looking up. They're going to start looking to the side. There's a lot going on. Next time you're in an airport, just take notice of how much your eyes are darting. There's a lot happening. So especially at an intersection like this, we're trying to find out what is getting the most attention and where we should be placing signage and where we should be establishing wayfinding to make that experience a lot more easy.
So we're also playing around with our Microsoft Hololens that we have in the office. So this is some really early proof of concept stuff. This is our office in Dallas, and they have been messing around with, doing an alternate furniture layout or an alternate design, playing around with some of the American Airlines assets that we have in the office. And the cool thing about this is that they're able to actually interact with these elements and place them within a 3D space, but tie them back to real, actual elements. So this signage here that's on a real column, you can take and move and replace and put, where a designer would think they would suitably go. We had a cool airplane model, so we just floated that above our staircase that we have. But you can see the applications for signage and implementation into actual physical spaces for this. As the technology continues to develop, would be great for wayfinding and things like that. So, currently we're experimenting with some low level and some high level. So similar to what we were doing with our VR with the Google the Cardboard and the Vive, we're messing around with applications that clients can take away with them on their iPhone, and we're messing around with some of the latest technologies of augmented reality with the Microsoft HoloLens and even the Stackery smart helmet. These technologies, as they continue to develop, are definitely things that we're going to be playing around with, as a company and in.
So a big part of this and a big part of what we do is storytelling. That's how we sell our vision. That's how we connect with the clients and the end users. So we're going to start outlining the purpose of the experience, create that walkthrough around that purpose, and then we're going to decide where the user will go, what they'll see, and what they'll interact with. So from there, we can start creating the environment. We can import the assets, add lighting, texture, and sounds, and code things to be interactive and animate. Lastly, there comes a lot of testing and trying to break things. So after we're happy with everything, we're ready to deliver. That's our process, and that's where we jump off for storytelling.
Yeah, I love testing these models and breaking things and winding up in the middle of walls. And
there's always little glitches and troubleshooting, but that's the fun part. Every project is unique. We explore every aspiration and vision that the client has. These are the tools that make that easier for us to do that with them. It's important for every design to have the right look and feel and functionality, especially functionality. That's a major key that we like to pride ourselves in. Function over form. So virtual reality technology allows our clients to really connect with the space. It's one thing to look at a rendering, but if you're standing in it, you actually get a feel for the scale of the space. The first time I walked through a space, I noticed something that I wanted to coordinate with my mechanical engineer because I was afraid we were going to be able to see their HVAC units from an area of the building that we were really happy with and proud of, and we didn't want to have any kind of unsightly. I can't stand building systems, so I'm sorry for any mechanical engineers in there. They take up a lot of room, and having that tech helps us kind of skirt those obstacles.
You know, it allows us to interact with the space in a way that we've never been able to do before. Using virtual reality, our clients are able to interact and experience a way, you know, and it gives them additional context to inform their project decisions. You know, it's a lot of money to spend if you're building out a new office building or a new ground-up structure. I mean, it's millions of dollars that they're looking to invest, and getting an idea beforehand, you know, is having that opportunity literally can save millions. Additionally, they can experience the small details, like how the sun and the lights and the space at all different times of day, or they can go through their daily routine and test that out and make sure that it is suitable for, you know, for them and their users. You know, walk from the lobby to the desk, and you know, just really get how, if they're looking to create like an expression or kind of express their culture, they're able to test that out in their front lobby before you're even able to, or before you even have to build it out. So there's also efficiency benefits to virtual reality. It allows us to rapidly prototype. The project team can make changes to a design really quickly, and allows clients to give timely feedback on changes and other elements before they're even under construction. This can save time and effort by eliminating multiple rounds of revisions, and that's really critical in the design phase. You know, the earlier we can make a decision, the more efficient and productive we can be in realizing that vision of the client. So, thank you for coming to this talk. I hope that our perspective of how we use VR and AR in our daily work environment was beneficial to you.
You guys have any questions?